Reflecting on my past actions, I realize just how deeply I strung you along, and I carry a heavy sense of regret for the way I treated you. When I think back on our time together, I can now see the imbalance between what you gave and what I offered in return. You showed up with openness, patience, and sincerity, while I often met you with hesitation, half-truths, and avoidance. I failed to honor the time, trust, and energy you poured into our connection. My actions, and sometimes my lack of them, were unfair to you, and I recognize that now more than ever. I avoided taking responsibility for my behavior because I wasn't ready to face the parts of myself that needed the most growth. I wasn't honest with you, and if I'm honest, I wasn't honest with myself either. Looking back, I can see that I was acting out of fear of vulnerability, fear of rejection, and fear of truly being seen for who I am. I let my insecurities take control, allowing them to shape my words, my choices, and ultimately the direction of our relationship. Instead of confronting my internal struggles, I hid behind excuses and emotional distance. I convinced myself that it was better to stay guarded, that by keeping things uncertain, I could somehow protect both of us from disappointment. But in truth, all I did was create confusion and pain. I hurt someone who deserved honesty and care. For that, I am deeply sorry. My actions were never a reflection of your worth or your character. They were reflections of my own inability to handle my emotions in a healthy way. I see now that the way I treated you was rooted in my own lack of emotional maturity. I didn't know how to communicate my fears or articulate my confusion, so I avoided the hard conversations altogether. It was easier to retreat into silence than to admit that I was struggling. I see now how that silence must have made you feel unseen and unvalued, and that realization is something I carry with me every day. One of the greatest lessons I've learned through this experience is the importance of honesty. I've come to understand that honesty isn't just about telling the truth when asked, it's about being transparent even when it's uncomfortable. It's about showing up fully, even when you're uncertain, and communicating with integrity even when your voice shakes. Without honesty, there can be no trust. And without trust, no relationship, no matter how strong the connection, can truly last. I used to believe that keeping things vague and undefined would protect us from potential heartbreak, but I realize now that it only created more confusion, control, and emotional distance. I thought I was avoiding pain, but I was really just delaying it. You deserved so much more than the uncertainty I gave you. You deserved my honesty, my clarity, and my effort. Since we last spoke, I've spent a lot of time reflecting and doing some serious soul-searching. I've come to understand that I've always struggled with commitment and vulnerability. Those words used to sound like weaknesses to me, but now I see them as areas of growth. I realize that in my attempt to protect myself, I ended up pushing away the very person I cared about the most, you. I thought that by maintaining a certain distance, I could manage my emotions, stay in control, and avoid getting hurt. But in reality, all I did was create more uncertainty and pain, for both of us. I can now see how my fear of being vulnerable kept me from fully experiencing the depth of connection that was right in front of me. I wish I had been brave enough to confront my fears when we were together. I wish I had opened up to you, trusted you with my insecurities, and allowed you to see the parts of me I tried so hard to hide. You offered me a space of safety and understanding, but I didn't know how to receive it. Instead of leaning into your warmth, I kept retreating into my own walls. I can only imagine how frustrating and painful that must have been for you, to offer love and patience, only to be met with confusion and distance. I wish I could go back and tell my past self to stop running, to stop sabotaging something meaningful because of fear. Moving forward, I am making a conscious commitment to change. I'm learning how to be more honest, open, and transparent in all of my relationships. I no longer want to keep people at arm's length just because I'm afraid of being hurt. I see now that distance doesn't protect you, it isolates you. It keeps you from experiencing the very things that give life meaning: connection, vulnerability, and genuine emotional intimacy. I want to be someone who embraces challenges instead of avoiding them, who faces discomfort with courage instead of retreating behind silence. I've learned that real connection isn't built on perfection, it's built on truth. It's built on the willingness to say, "I'm scared," or "I don't know," or "I was wrong." Those are the words I didn't know how to say before, but I'm learning to say them now. I know that words alone can't change the past, and they can't erase the pain I caused. But I want you to know that I am deeply sorry for how I treated you. My apology isn't just about the moments I hurt you, it's about acknowledging the larger pattern of avoidance and fear that shaped my actions. I am working on myself, trying to understand my behaviors, and making a sincere effort to grow into someone who can love openly and honestly. You taught me more than I ever realized at the time. Your kindness, your patience, and your emotional depth have been a source of inspiration for me. Even now, I find myself thinking about the way you approach people, with gentleness, understanding, and compassion. You have this incredible ability to see beyond the surface, to notice what isn't said, to sense the emotions hiding behind someone's words or silence. You saw parts of me I wasn't ready to confront. You made me feel seen in ways that were both thrilling and terrifying. There were moments when your insight felt almost too sharp, as if you could read me better than I could read myself. At the time, that scared me. I wasn't ready to be fully known, but now I recognize how rare and beautiful that gift was. The way you communicate, your warmth, and your gentle energy, all of it drew me in. Your nurturing nature isn't just about the words you speak, but about how you make people feel in your presence. You have this rare ability to make others feel understood, valued, and cared for. It's something I didn't appreciate enough when I had the chance. I see now that those qualities are what make you so special, and I regret not meeting you with the same level of sincerity and openness. You brought a lightness and calmness into my life that I didn't even realize I needed. Since our time apart, I've spent many nights reflecting on the moments we shared, both the good and the difficult ones. I think about how easily our conversations flowed, how your laughter would soften my mood, how you had this effortless way of making people feel comfortable. I also think about the moments when I withdrew or avoided being truthful, and how those moments slowly chipped away at the trust you tried to build. Those memories have become lessons for me, reminders of what happens when fear wins over honesty. I'm learning that true connection requires presence. It requires the courage to show up, even when you're uncertain. I used to believe that love was about keeping things safe and controlled, but now I see that love thrives in openness and vulnerability. It's about allowing someone to see your flaws and trusting that they'll still choose to stay. I wasn't able to do that before, but I'm learning how now. I've been taking steps to better understand myself, reading, reflecting, talking to people who challenge me to grow. I've been learning about emotional intelligence, attachment patterns, and the ways fear can disguise itself as control. Every lesson brings me closer to the person I want to become, someone who communicates honestly, who listens with empathy, and who leads with compassion instead of fear. You may never know just how much your presence impacted my life, but I want you to know that I carry those lessons with me. You showed me what genuine connection looks like. You reminded me that kindness doesn't mean weakness, and vulnerability doesn't mean powerlessness. You taught me that real strength lies in being open, in allowing yourself to be seen fully, even when it's uncomfortable. I didn't understand that before, but I do now. I know I can't undo what's been done, and I don't expect forgiveness. This reflection isn't about trying to rewrite the past, it's about acknowledging it. It's about taking responsibility for my actions and committing to being better. I needed to lose something meaningful to realize how much I needed to change. It's painful to admit, but growth often comes from loss. And in this case, losing you was the wake-up call I needed. Moving forward, I want to live differently. I want to build relationships that are grounded in trust and openness, where both people feel seen, heard, and valued. I want to show up for others in ways I couldn't before, forging connections rooted in truth, not fear. I don't want to keep hiding behind my walls. I want to embrace the discomfort of honesty because I know now that's where real connection begins. If there's one thing I wish I could tell you face to face, it's that you mattered more than I ever let on. You still do. You changed the way I see relationships, vulnerability, and even myself. I'm grateful for that, even if it came with pain. I will always appreciate the time we shared, and I'll carry your lessons with me as I continue this journey of self-improvement. You have an incredible ability to bring light to others' darkness, to offer understanding without judgment. You once told me that honesty is an act of love, and I didn't grasp the weight of that truth until now. I understand it deeply, because your honesty, both spoken and unspoken, helped me start seeing myself clearly for the first time. That clarity has guided me toward growth, self-awareness, and a commitment to living differently. Thank you for showing me what genuine connection feels like, even if I wasn't ready to receive it then. Thank you for your patience, your empathy, and the way you saw through my defenses. I can't change what happened, but I can change who I become because of it, and that's exactly what I'm doing. My hope is that one day, when you think of me, you'll remember not just the mistakes I made, but also the effort I've put into learning from them. Most of all, I hope you know how deeply sorry I am. I'm sorry for the confusion I caused, for the walls I built, and for not giving you the honesty and presence you deserved. I'm sorry for not being brave enough to love you the way you needed to be loved. You taught me that vulnerability is not something to fear, it's something to honor. And though I learned that lesson too late to save what we had, I carry it with me now as a guiding truth. I will continue to grow, to face my fears, and to build a life grounded in openness and integrity. I will continue to honor the lessons you left with me, lessons about love, honesty, courage, and connection. You will always have a place in my story, not as a mistake, but as a teacher, as a reminder of what real emotional honesty looks like. And for that, I am endlessly grateful.